Silvia, you had two special experiences in your life. The first one was when you were 5 years old. How did this first special experience come about? When I was 5 years old, I had to have surgery on my tonsils. Usually, you sleep during surgery, but I was awake and remained conscious. I was aware of everything that happened around me. I heard everything, and I fully experienced when the surgeon opened my mouth, penetrated into my throat by means of his surgical instruments. It felt as if I was trapped. I tried to scream and to move. I tried to make myself noticed, but without success. This situation was comparable to a dream, in which you would like to get something done or to move forward, but in vain. So I panicked, I was terrified, and all this was terrible for me, and this felt like an eternity for me. And then suddenly, I was outside my body, floating on the ceiling, seeing everything around me. I saw the surgeons working on my body, and I saw myself sitting on the surgery chair. I heard everything people were saying, and I was aware of the situation as a whole, but I can't recollect how I got back into my body. The next day, during visits from the doctors, I explained to the physician what I saw, but he didn't believe me and he laughed. I also told my parents about this experience, but they didn't believe me either. This was very disconcerting for me, as I had perceived everything so clearly and realistically. And the consequence of all this was that I no longer trusted my own perceptions. And, yes, I finally believed what the other people were saying. Not so long ago, only some years, I had the night watch together with a surgery technology assistant, and I asked her whether I was right in assuming that tonsil surgery is carried out whilst sitting in what resembles a dentist chair. And she answered my question in the affirmative. And this served to confirm to me that I could trust my perceptions, how I saw it and how it really was, and that it was not a dream. From how far outside your body did you perceive this? From which perspective? Well, it seemed to me as if I was floating directly underneath the ceiling, looking at myself from above, sitting on the chair. Later on, you had still another near-death experience. And how did that come about? I was 24 years old when giving birth to my daughter, Regula. To begin with, the birth went smoothly, but gradually it turned out that the afterbirth could not be released from the uterus. Therefore, I received a second anesthesia, and the subsequent operation may have been the reason why I lost lots of blood. Then I found myself inside a tunnel. I was thrown forward with great force. I was terrified and thought I must be dying. During this experience, I saw a kind of life film, starting from the present, working backwards to the past. Thereby, I was experiencing stations and sequences of my life with people close to me, and I became aware of their feelings, as well as simultaneously of my own feelings, which was rather peculiar, that I would now die. Then I saw a brilliant white and bright light at the end of the tunnel. It was indescribable, and I was floating closer to this light, and all of a sudden I was so relaxed, and I was enshrouded in this light with an encompassing love, with peace, with a bliss, and this was so beautiful. But at the same time, I also perceived some people around me. But this was just a perception in the form of energies. I knew that this was my soul family, to which I felt closely associated. It was like a coming home. It was really beautiful over there. And then I heard myself saying in a kind of telepathic way, "But I cannot die now. I just gave birth to a daughter. I still have a task." And I also heard an answer also in a kind of telepathic way. "That's true. Your time has not yet come. You have to go back." And as soon as I heard this answer, I was pulled back into the tunnel and was kind of thrown back into the earthly world. When I woke up, I was directly looking into the eyes of the midwife. She was looking at me in a very peculiar way, and I knew that she knew something that I did not know. That something had happened, but I was so tired, much too tired, as never before in my life. I hardly could take my daughter in my arms, which saddened me quite a bit. I was just so tired of life. On the other hand, I thought that now I actually should be happy, because I had given birth to a healthy daughter. But nevertheless, I was very concerned about this issue, but I was not able to talk about it, nor did I want to do so, because I already had such an experience at the age of 5 when people didn't believe me. You said that you were tired of life. Was this because of the fact that you were longing to return to the place where you felt so sheltered? Yes. I was such a cheerful and active young woman, but after this experience, I became a little depressed, and there was this longing, my profound desire for this peace and this bliss, and for this endless and boundless love that I had experienced. And from all this, I knew that dying is something very beautiful and wonderful, and that there is no reason at all to be afraid of dying. This film of life, starting from the present backward to the past, could it be understood in the sense that you first saw events which were taking place quite recently, and then back into childhood, yes, and everything went very quickly, and only in the form of imagery, associations, and the feelings I was thereby experiencing. What impact did these experiences have on your future life? Well, the first 6 to 8 weeks I was somewhat reserved. I didn't know exactly what to expect from my life, and I was also somewhat depressed and tired, just tired, but the fatigue might also have been caused by the big loss of blood, because blood formation up to normal levels takes time. But nevertheless, my life had changed. So I experienced nature differently. I saw nature through new eyes, and I also experienced colors differently. I became more sensitive and perceptive. I read lots of books on dying, on near-death experiences, on reincarnation, on angels and channeling. And this topic was very much on my mind, because suddenly I had another access to it. I disliked quarreling, and neither did I like any films with violent action. And I also felt the aura of people, which prompted me to further my knowledge, and I finished a training in holistic healing methods and mediumship, as well as in astrology. And I received more and more answers to what I experienced at that time. And so I could be confident about the many things I had experienced. And now I also see life differently. I knew, well, what I mean is that my priorities changed because I knew that it's all about love and sharing, about communicating, about empathy, and about just loving. Did this experience help to convince you that there is a life after death? Yes, definitely. I no longer have the slightest doubt about it. For me, a life after death is reality. Silvia, thank you so very much for the interview. Thank you, and thank you very much.